webinar. I'm going to be sharing practical experience of what I've done before and what I've seen other people doing. And for many of us that are experienced, possibly what we are doing already. And at the end of the webinar, there's going to be an interaction with questions and answer. And today, I'm going to be sharing my screen. We want to talk about baby steps of how we can achieve $1 million equity in between 5 to 10 years in real estate investment, and also to have cash flow of $2,000 on monthly basis. I'm also going to be sharing with us how we can raise our capital to start the journey. And I would like us to pay attention. You know, some people, they believe that you have to have a lot of money to be able to invest in real estate. I hope we can all hear me. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. And that they will need to belong to certain high earners to be able to achieve their dream. And they love it, but because of this wrong mindset, they are not able to pursue what they like. Today, I'm going to show us what we can do to be able to achieve our dream. My name is Akindele Opola. I represent Tech3 Canada Inc. It's a real estate company, technology and real estate. I've been here around in Manitoba for the past 10 years plus. I have a portfolio of over 8 million real estate properties. This is what I do full time. Recently, I got licensed as a real estate agent so that I could be able to help people to buy and to sell properties. So today, once again, we are looking at baby steps approach to achieving $1 million equity in 5 to 10 years using 4 rental properties. You know, we are limiting ourselves just 4 rental properties because 4 rental property is what I believe every household should be able to manage and control and earn money from it. I mean, it's not much, it's what a single person should be able to manage very well. So we're starting with raising money for real estate deals. So how do we raise money? You know, there are different ways to raise money. And many of us, we are only familiar with savings. Of course, saving is constant and it will always be there. So I categorize savings and other investment as one. So we can raise money. And when we are talking about raising money, we are looking at the down payment. We are looking at the closing cost to buy the property. So we can save money. But one thing I've seen in this part of the world is that it is difficult to save. It is very, very difficult to save. You know, unlike back home, you know, in Nigeria, where I came from, you know, you can save high percentage of your salary, especially if you are working in the top places. You know, but in Canada here, it is very difficult to save because all the money that you earn goes to pay bills, go to pay your mortgages, go to pay taxes, and you pay tax on everything that you acquire. You pay tax even on your food. You pay tax on household items. You pay tax on everything. But if you have investment in RRSP, TSA, FA, and GIC, and another thing is this, for people who are already of age, maybe about 40 before they come to Canada, that is another challenge because, you know, you can only have little on your RRSP or even TSFA. And TSFA is even limited of how much you can have in there. You know, the advantage that people that are born here or that grew up here is overwhelming when you compare with an average immigrant who is coming here above 35 already, 40 already. So, but in all, some people are still able to save. So another way to raise money is through the private money lenders or the hard money lenders. There are individuals and the private companies around. And for especially people who are doing flipping, who love to flip properties, who love to buy property under market value, fix it, and sell it for higher price. Hard money lenders, private money lenders are available, and they're able to help them. You know, one thing that is very good in real estate is that money will always follow a good deal. What the investors just need to do is to make sure his numbers are right. You know, once the numbers are right, you're able to get money to be able to finance your deal. Although hard money lenders seems to be high in terms of interest rate, the interest rate here sometimes goes to double digits and plus certain points. And of course, the conventional mortgage loan through banks and credit union, which is also available. We can go to all the 5 big banks, CIBC, you know, Scotia and Co. We can also go to the credit union, you know, to get a loan. Then HELOC, home line of credit or line of credit. The difference between that is that one comes from your equity. Maybe you have your home, your residence where you are living, and you have built up some equity in the house for some time. So you can go to the bank and say, well, I need some money. I want to get some HELOC on my house. So they look at the house, they look at how much the house is worth, and they can be able to calculate how much you can have as a home line of credit. So home equity line of credit. So which means that the money that they are going to give you is guaranteed by your equity in your house. And while line of credit is not guaranteed by anything. And this is, the interest rate here is always attractive. One thing that a real estate investor or a person that is planning to invest in real estate should be able to do each time they have the opportunity, because sometimes the bank will say, we want to give you line of credit. You know, take it. If they want to increase it, good. You know, I mean, I've had cases of people where they are given line of credit and they say, no, I don't want it. I don't need it at this time. And they reject it. And unfortunately, when they need it, they do not qualify again, because the big banks have a kind of algorithm, you know, where each profile is being looked at and they are pre-qualified about what in terms of the credit card line of credit. So you just saw an email in your inbox when you open your account and saying that you have been pre-approved for this so amount of line of credit. Don't waste time, just take it. Then the home equity is, goes along with your line of credit. It also goes along with when you can refinance it. You can refinance a house, you pull out the entire money. When they give you the home equity line of credit, when they post the money into your account, maybe they give you 50,000. And if you use just 1,000 there, you only pay the interest for that 1,000 that you have used. The 49,000 are still there, you are not paying any interest. The difference between that and when you refinance is that if they give you 50,000 when you refinance, you start paying the interest the following month. The entire, whether you use the money or not, because once the bank gives you the check, they begin to pay the interest. from month to month, and they add it to your mortgage anyway. So we're going to have detail of that in our plan today. And of course, you can also partner, you can partner with people to be able to buy properties. I think that is very common from people from Asia and Africa. The only thing that may not work here is that when people partner back home, they do not set boundaries. Boundaries are as to who is responsible for this, who is responsible for that. The load is usually on one person or two people, and before you know it, the business, they are not really handling it the way the business should be handled, and therefore that is where a lot of businesses fail. Back home you rarely see businesses of 100 years. You rarely see business of even 50 years, because we do not know how to set boundaries. So, but partnership still works. Then joint venture. Joint venture is another form of partnership where memorandum of understanding and agreement are signed about who is doing what and what responsibility. This is what usually happens. A person or a company brings a deal to the table, and show it to everyone who are interested, and they form partnership, and they agree on the percentage of ownership percentage of how much profits are going to be shared. My company, Tech3 Canada Inc., we do joint venture partners for both experience and starters in real estate. Then we can also raise money through vendor take back. Vendor take back deal. What is a VTB? VTB is an arrangement where the seller of a property is willing to give you a loan as part of your down payment or part of the entire down payment. So let's say you are buying a property for 300,000. You agree that this property you are paying 300,000, and the 20% of 300,000, the owner, the seller, promised to give you as a vendor, as a loan. So you approach the bank and say, okay, the seller is promising me to give me the down payment as a fee, vendor's take back. So all I just need is the closing cost. So, which means that when you now acquire the property, you are going to be paying the bank the 80% that the bank borrows you, and also the 20% that the seller, the owner of the property, borrow you. So there's usually an agreement, signed agreement, legal. It's a way of getting property with little or no money down. So that comes to a question. What do you think is more challenging to come by? Good real estate deal or money to fund your purchase? Yeah, we can type the answer to the chat. So what do we think is more challenging to come by? Is it the money or the good deal? Some people are saying both. I think it's good deal, because money will always follow good deal. Yeah. Someone said property. Well, properties are in the market. You can get, if you want to buy property tomorrow, you can get it on MLS. But 99% of the properties that are listed on MLS are not good deals for you and I. Good deals are the one that is more precious than money, because once the good is available, money usually follows. And that is the truth. If you ask any experienced real estate investor, that is what they're going to tell you. So thank you very much for your response. So, we have a Facebook group, we call it Real Estate Investment for Canadian Immigrant. You can search for it and join. We'll provide some information there. Before I go to the next set of slides, like I said, I'm also now licensed real estate agent. I can help you achieve your dream. Now, so, and I want us to pay attention this is very, very important. And I want us to pay attention, because this is going to open our eyes. As for me, this is what I do. You know, I still continue to go for seminars, webinar, and I still continue to mentor people. I mentor people. I deliver real estate webinars, seminars like this, and they also invite me to come and give, you know, a presentation on real estate investment. But I find out that each time, whether I deliver or I learn from people, there's always new idea that flows through me, you know, about what I can do next. So I believe that for many of us that I experienced, some ideas prop into our head today. And so, why can't I do this? Oh, this is possible. This is the path I'm going to follow. And that is the reason why I want us to pay attention. So I'm going to be showing us some Excel sheets, and they are based on this assumption. And these are assumptions, we are going to be taking them one by one. And any experienced real estate investor will tell you that all these assumptions are very doable, are just basic. So we are making the $1 million on this assumption. Number one, we are going to be buying discounted properties, at least 10% discounted property. From my experience, I've seen that it is possible for you to have between 10 to 30% to get between 10 to 30% discounted properties in the market. I have never bought a property that is not discounted. I repeat, I have never bought a property that is not discounted. As a real estate investor, you should not be buying property just like a first-time home buyer. So we are targeting discounted property. How do we get discounted property? That is another topic anyway. You can get it anywhere, even on MLS. You can get it through negotiation. You can get it from wholesalers, people who knock on the doors. You can get it through foreclosures, auction. So, and the property, the second assumption is this: the property appreciation is 4% per annum. In Winnipeg, the market where I am, the appreciation rate is between 3 to 5% on the average. I know in a bigger province, the appreciation is far more than this. And I can tell you, even in Winnipeg here, there are some specific neighborhoods that appreciate far more than this. And I also know neighborhood that doesn't appreciate in the same Winnipeg. So we are targeting a neighborhood that will have at least minimum of 4% per annum. Are we on the same page? For people that are just joining us, today we are looking at achieving $1 million equity in 10 years and an infinite 2,000 cash flow per month. And of course, the third assumption is that we are buying cash flowing property. That is very important. You know, there are two sets of people that invest in real estate. One set of people, they make their money, maybe in their business or in their career, and they realize that real estate is able to help them to keep the value of their money. So they go to the market, they contact The real estate agent, I want to buy an apartment. I want to buy a condo. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. They just buy, not looking at the numbers. They don't even know how to look at the numbers anyway. So, and at the end of the month, they put in money from their pocket to sustain the property. That is the first category of people. And the second category of people are investors who make their money from buying properties, from real estate. So they know how to calculate the numbers, and they're able to get cash flow from the real estate, from the doors, as much door that they buy on monthly basis. And the assumption is that this door that we are buying, this property we are buying, we are looking at minimum of 250 per door. That is doable. I can tell you that in my properties, I have a door for 400, I have a door for 200, I have a door for 500, depending. So for a door to bring in 250 cash flow, it is doable. Then another assumption is that 10% first appreciation after purchase. So which means that after we buy the property, we are going to do what we call a first appreciation. First appreciation is when you add value to a property, maybe by renovating it, by adding another door, another suite. Maybe you buy a single family house that has a full basement, and you convert the basement a legal secondary suite, not basement suite, legal secondary suite. So you have performed a first appreciation. First appreciation, renovation as little as painting, landscaping, changing of kitchen, changing of bathroom, first appreciation. So every property we are going to buy, we are going to do a first appreciation, and the property is going to appreciate by margin of 10%. So if you buy a property for 300 or 350, it's going to appreciate by 10%. That is extra 35,000 on it on the first year. Then we are going to be looking at buying property duplex or more doors. So even if we buy a single family, we are going to do a secondary suite to make it duplex or more, or the triplex. So if we buy a duplex, for example, it means that we're going to be getting 250 per door per month, which that is per house, that is 500. And don't forget, we are looking to buy just 4 properties in these 10 years. So if you buy one will bring in 500 every month. So the 2 will be bringing another 500, that is 1,000. And the 4 is going to be bringing 2,000 every month. We're not looking at increasing, the assumption is not based on increasing the rent here. It's not covered. And of course, if you're buying an investment property, an income generating property, the minimum in Canada, I don't know in the US, I don't know in the UK, because I know we have people from the UK and US online. But the minimum here is 20%. Generally, when you're buying income generating property, investment property, the bank expects you to put in more down payment compared with your residential home. So that is another assumption. So minimum of 20% down payment. Another assumption is, 250 per month, per door, we have said that. The cost of first appreciation is not taken into consideration here. Then the first property is funded through savings and or any other investment we have, as this investor is a paid employee. So we are assuming that you are working somewhere and you have saved money from your investment for this first property, because the only money you are going to spend in this plan that I made that I'm presenting today is 63,000 plus your closing costs, maybe about 70,000. That is the only money you are going to spend to be able to make $1 million and infinite cash flow of 2,000 every month. Now, and the property is, the market is steady. What I mean here is the market here is steady. Yeah, we can come out with our question at the end so that when I finish this presentation, because I may have to go over the presentation once again. Yeah, I know we have questions. So having said that, let's go to the next slide. So the next slide. So we are buying a property, we call it SYZ property. The property is valued at 350. Don't forget our first assumption. We are buying minimum of 10% discounted. So we are purchasing it for 315,000. So now the value of the property is 350. The loan amount after we have put down the 20% down payment. So the loan amount which our mortgage is based on is 252,000. And now we have 98,000 equity. And at the end of the year one, and don't forget we said, when we buy the property, we do a first appreciation. So first appreciation on 350, extra 35,000 makes it 385,000. And the loan amount now, because we have been able to pay 6,000 plus loan amount, so we have reduced it to 245,000, and our equity has increased because the value has increased, the loan amount has reduced. So our equity has increased to 139,000. At the end of year two, don't forget 4% appreciation every year. So 4% of 385,000 is 400,400. So we have our property at the end of year two has appreciated, and the loan amount is now reduced to 238,000, and our equity at the end of second year has increased to 161,000. And don't forget about the cash flow. The cash flow is 500 per this house, 250 per door, and we have 2 doors. So 6,000 in a year and 12,000 in 2 years. So in 2 years, we have 12,000 cash flow from the property that we have used about 70,000 to buy. And now our equity is 161,948. So at the end of the year two, this is the strategy. We look at our equity, we have equity of 161,000. So we now look at, we can take advantage of that. And that is to go to the bank and say, I want to refinance this property. I want to buy the next. I want to pull out the equity so that I can buy the next property. So this is what the bank will say. The bank will always make sure that whatever be the current value of the property, when you're refinancing it, you have minimum of 20% of the value of the property. So because of that, we are only able to pull out 81,000 out of 161,000 that we have. And don't forget, we have 12,000 cash flow for that, for the first and second year. So we have total of 93,000. So the bank issued a check of 81,000, and we have saved 12,000 from the cash flow. So assuming we only need 73,000 to close the next deal. So we save the other 2,000 plus. We buy the same property just like we have bought before. So we bought property 2 at the end of year 3. We now have 3 properties. Sorry. We now have, we now have 2 properties. And now we bought 123 Main Street. The value is 350, but we don't forget we bought for 315. Same calculation would be there. Now, year 3 hand, year 4 hand. Year 4 hand, just like the first property after 2 years, we have 161,000 equity. Here again, at the end of year 4, we are also having 161,000 as equity. And we have cash flow of 12,000. So at the end of year 4, we did the same thing that we did at the end of year 2 to refinance the second property. I hope I'm not going too fast. So we refinance the second property so that we can buy property 3 by year 5. We bought 456 Lee Place Boulevard. Value, loan amount, equity, cash flow. Purchase with the value 350, 10% discounted. We bought it for 315. Equity at purchase is 98,000. At the end of year 6, we have 161,000 equity for the property 3 at the end of year 6. Don't forget, we already pulled out money from property that we bought in year 1. But now for property 2 and property 3, we have some money. So, but this is this is what we are going to do this time. Property 4 at year 6 is purchased through. Don't forget, when we pull out money, we actually have about 93,000, and we save 20,000 plus in property 1. And when we also refinance the property 2, we also have 20,000 plus. The cash flow that we have on property 1 and 2 now is 36,000. So we have total money, total fund of 77,000 to enable us buy the next property. Which is property 4. Property 4 is 123 Getting There Street. And we bought it at year 6. When you look at the last property we bought at year 6, up to year 10, is increasing in value every year for 4%. The loan amount is being paid down. Here we are paying about 6,000 plus, and equity is increasing. This particular property bought in year 6, which is property 4, in the year 10 is now having about 250,000 equity and a cash flow of 30,000. Now, property 1. Don't forget that the property 1 was we hold that property for 2 years, then we refinance it at the end of the second year. So When you do refinance, this is what happened. Your loan amount is increased. Look at year 3 here now. The loan amount has increased. It was 238 before. Now, because we pull out equity, it has increased. And our equity also has reduced. But time is a big factor here. At the end of year 10, the value of the property is now 547, and the loan amount is 254, and the equity is 293, almost 300,000 here. Never forget that you have only invested about 70,000 in this deal. Now, property 2 highlights from year 3 to 10. Don't also forget that we also, at the end of year 4, we also refinance the property 2 to be able to buy the next property. So same thing that happened to property 1 also happened to this one. The loan amount has increased because we pull out equity to buy the next property. Our equity has reduced, but the cash flow is constant. Now, the property is now worth today 506,000. The loan amount of 271,000, and equity of 235,000 plus cash flow. Property 3. When we refinance property 2, we use it to buy property 3. No, this is what we did. We actually, because we have refinanced 2, the money we saved, the 20,000 plus we saved in 2 places, was part of what we used to buy this. But right now, here the property is only worth 468,000 at the end of year 10. And we have a loan amount of 193,000. We have equity of 275,000. And property 4. Sorry, it was property 4 that we use the money what we save and cash flow to buy. So we have the saved amount, the money that is left over after 2 refinances, 20,000 plus 20,000 plus the cash flow. That is what we use to buy property 4. And property 4 at the end of the 10-year is valued 450,000, 200,000 loan amount, 250,000 in equity plus cash flow. So at the end of the 10th year, property 1 has 293,000 as equity. Property 2 has 235,000 equity. Property 3, 275,000. Property 4, 250,000. And we're assuming we did not spend our cash flow. We have cash flow of 120,000. So right now we have 1.1 million. This is a journey we started with 63,000 plus closing cost. That is the only money we contributed here. I'm not talking magic. I've done this in 5 years. So, to show you how to do it in 10 years is easy. Now we have 1 million in equity, 120,000 in cash, and infinite returns of 2,000 cash flow every month. All this will continue to grow from year to year. Now, imagine if you have more savings and investment in other places and you're pump in more cash to accelerate the journey and scale higher. Imagine instead of buying one property at a time, you bought two. Maybe you buy one every year because you have extra cash somewhere. I mean, it's going to scale. You will be able to scale higher than this. Yeah, you can check out our plans for 2.3 million in equity in 7 years. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tech Creek Canada, which I just set up anyway. Then the Facebook group, Real Estate Investment for Canadian Immigrants. Now we go to question and answer. Do you want me to go through the numbers again before we go to question and answer? Or this is okay, we can go to question and answer straight. Yes, we can unmute. We can talk now if you want to talk.
I think there are some questions in the chat box as well, if you want to start from there.
Okay.
Hi.
All right, let's start with the question from the chat box, then we go to okay, I mean, one question, could you share more detail on 1 million in equity in 10 years? Do you mean 1 million in equity per investor or per household? Yeah, I mean, it could be any, it could be per investor, it could be per household. I just show us how that is achievable with about 10 years, I mean, about 70,000 contribution from our pockets. So it could be any, I mean, if husband and wife can do it together, I mean, one person can also do it who is not married. Can you explain tips on how to negotiate with a seller on regular market for discount when buying a property? Well, everybody wants to go for top dollar. You know, I mean, everybody that is selling the property usually wants to go for top dollar. But what I see, what usually work for me, especially when we are buying property that are not new, is that once a property is in bad shape, a lot of people run away from it. It's only the experienced investors who are able to see the gold in the mud. We bought a property in St. Boniface because a lot of people ran away and they never investigate. Water was coming through an external staircase into the basement, and they now assume it's a foundation problem. It wasn't. Together with my friend, we fixed the problem together. We mix cements and block it. So I was able to buy it because, I mean, a lot of other investors ran away. That is why, so we should be able to train our eyes to be able to see gold in the mud. People, what I see is that, especially in this part of the world, people like to see everything that is wow, wow. If you are looking for wow, wow, you should be ready to pay wow money. And as an investor, that is not a good advice. Where is your skill? If you are looking for wow, wow, your skill should be able to turn mud into wow. You know, what everything is looking at and bypassing, you know, your skill should be able to develop a skill to turn into wow, that is great. So, but if we continue to look for what other investors are looking for, you're looking for what is nice. Everybody knows what is nice. Everybody knows what is beautiful. You will not be able to get a good deal because the person that is selling one top dollar for that. And that is when you see in this part of the world, when a house are going to be sold, people like to renovate to get more money for it. And at the same time, another thing is that when you are negotiating, it should be a win-win to the seller. It should be flexible, possession date, you know, what and what. I mean, you can tell the the person that is selling, can you fix this for me, be friendly. And when you look at the property that you are buying, you should consider how much it's going to cost you to be able to fix up that property versus how much it's going to be worth at the end of the day. The cost of repair should be in our head. If I'm going to change the windows of this house, how much is it going to cost me? If I'm going to change the roof, majorly there are a few things that can bring out the value of a house: the bathroom, the kitchen, and sometimes the flooring. So how much is it going to cost you to be able to do all that? And we also buy it from wholesale. Wholesalers, they move around, and once they know that you're a person that closes the deal always, if they get any deal, you are going to be their first person they are going to tell. Because the less people that have seen it, the better. If a lot of people have seen the deal, there's likelihood that the deal must have been closed even before you are aware. But if the wholesaler knows that you are the type that always close a deal, whenever they bring any deal to you, you'll be sure that they will come to you. Thank you. Then somebody was asking a question or making comments. I think we only have 2 questions in the chat. Question, comments. Now is the time for question and comment. Or you want me to go over the tables again? That table seems like a miracle.
I do have a few questions, and I think you probably have covered some of them during your presentation. Thanks again for that wonderful presentation, especially showing the numbers. Showing numbers really, really drives the point home. But I think I want to start from the current real estate market let's even say in Winnipeg right now. It is a hot market. And the opening mantra is you need to buy properties at a discounted rate. So how is that working right now? Being able to find those deals that you're getting 10 to 30% on those deals. Do you think that's still feasible in the market as of today?
Yes, it's feasible anytime. I listened to one podcast from Bigger Pocket. There's a guy there, he's a Ghanaian, but he's an American. He has been in the US, a doctor. He has been in the US for like 40 years. He's investing in one of the craziest market, Washington market, very expensive market. And he's still getting his deal. His number is still working. Let me say, we got a 2-unit house, a brand new home in Winnipeg in pandemic when it was crazy for $350,000. A house that is worth nothing less than $420,000. So if the more you look, the more you see. It is doable. It's doable. And the only way you can have equity at purchase is to make sure what you are buying is discounted. If you are buying what other people are buying, you are not going to be able to build equity so fast. Some people who are not have some knowledge in real estate investing, they will come and say, "Oh, I bought my house and so, and I want to sell it now, and they are pricing it even less than what I bought it 5 years ago, because we bought high." So it's possible, and you have to go to realtor who understand what you want, a real estate agent, not a real estate agent who just want to collect commission and go. A real estate agent who understand what you are looking for, what your missions are. And if you can do wholesale yourself, you get connected with wholesaler. I see, so some of my houses, some people, wholesaler, they will write me and say, because they don't know. Immediately I see their letters, we buy houses, I will call them. Do you have something to sell right now? Please put me in your database. So these are the way. Then you also network with people of like minds. Like now, what we are doing is basically networking as well. To know what you want. The deals are always in the market. We were told that reality is the fact that Winnipeg market appreciated close to 10% between last year and this year alone. But there are deals; these are still there. The only thing is that it's not common. But are they there? Yes, they are there 100%.
Thank you. I think you
and at the same time, we also bought a house for, the Winnipeg assessment was 230 something thousand. We bought it for 195,000. I bought it through a wholesaler. So, and if I fix it today, we can sell almost 300,000 today. If I just let me spend 20,000 to this property, we can sell for almost 300,000. And we bought it less than a year ago. So it's still possible.
Yeah, I have one question about assessment. What do you usually use to accurately assess a value of a house? And do you use the city assessment information, or do you use appraisal?
Well, I think it's good to be able to be familiar with both. The city assessment is just a guide. Sometimes in the whole neighborhood or upcoming neighborhood, the city assessment could be very low. And in the newer neighborhood, the city assessment could be very high. I can tell you, the city assessment in St. Chris is very high. It's not in tune with the market value most of the time. However, in neighborhood like St. Boniface, St. James, Academy, the city assessments are lower than the real market value. So once you get acquainted with both, but the city assessment is just a guide. Yeah, and you can ask an appraiser at any point in time. It's just about 500. And another thing is the realtor can also give you a comparable. A realtor at any point can give you comparable and give you an idea. This is what this property is worth. They have the comparable in their database all the time. The property that they have sold in the neighborhood in the last 6 months, in the last 3 months, they can give you something, that will serve as a guide to you.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned wholesaling and wholesaler or something. What is wholesaling and how do you find wholesalers? Thank you.
Well, wholesalers are people that get house in for wholesale prices. Basically, they knock on doors, they print flyers and distribute, they send mails. In one of our classes, when I was doing real estate teachings, so what we went to the city, we targeted an area, it was in the east. So we went to those houses, wrote the addresses down, and went to the city office on Main Street, I think 4 something. So they have 2 computers there. So you check the addresses of the owner of the house, you write them down. So you now send whatever you want to sell to the owner, maybe a letter, do you want to sell your house? You sell it to them. Sometimes they send up to 1,000 letters, maybe 1 or 2. They can get sale in 1 or 2 of them, and it still makes sense. So sometimes they knock on door, and and approach people, move from one place to the other. So what they do is to get people who want to sell. And once they have the property ready under contract is that the person have signed that he wants to sell. So they will now look for people like us who are ready to close the deal, and they get their own 2,000, 10,000, 5,000, whatever. Then we will close the deal, and then we go with whatever they have committed. I mean, the assignment fee. They call it assignment fee because they are going to assign that contract to people like us. So because of the approach to be able to get the landlord directly, the owner, or people who inherited the house, they are able to get it cheaper, because there's no real estate agent in the middle. And some of these people, they may be old, they don't even know what their houses are worth. Or they are retiring, they are fed up with the house. So you never know. But it's a leg work. It's a lot of leg work.
I think you have a few more questions in the chat.
Okay. Okay. Someone is suggesting we should go over the table again. Yes, we will. The next question is, can you please tell when we can refinance the property, like after 6 months or after 1 year? It depends. I have refinanced the property after 3 months. But it's not the time that determines when to refinance. It is what you buy. Did you buy right? If you buy above the market value, what are you refinancing? You don't have any equity. Okay, this is the factors that guide when to refinance. When you consider how much you have as equity inside the house. How do you know that? The current value of the house versus the loan that you have on the house versus how much you can pull out when you are retaining 20% equity inside the house. Those two properties that we refinance, property 1 and property 2, we have 161,000 equity inside each of them in our plan. And we are left with the bank 20% of equity, about 80-something thousand. And the bank is able to give us 80,000 as well. Because when you are refinancing, the bank will look at it. I mean, you should leave at least 20 or 25,000 equity in your house because we are doing business together with the bank. The bank is not going to give you your entire equity. No, you have some equity remaining. So if you buy, for example, if you buy a property, okay, let me say this. We bought a property for 133,000 about 5 years plus year ago. We renovated it for 35,000. 3 months time, we refinance it, and we got about 50,000 because the bank came and looked at the property with the appraiser and give the new value and look at the equity we have there. So it is not the time that determines. It is the value that you have inside your house. Then somebody said, I mean, what exactly do we mean by refinancing? Okay. In a layman's language, refinancing is when you are taking a fresh loan, a fresh mortgage from the bank, and you are pulling out your equity. Equity is the money you have inside your house. You are pulling it out. So let's assume, I mean, I mean, for what most people do, first-time home buyers, maybe they have owned the house for like 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, and the house has appreciated over the years in value. The house that they bought for 350,000 is now worth today about 450,000 after 5 years. So they go to the bank and say, we want to refinance. So the bank will send an appraiser and confirm that the house is now worth 450,000. And you have paid down the mortgage to about 200,000. So you have equity of 200 minus 450. You have equity of about 250,000. So the bank will now say, okay, we will still need you to have at least 20% of the value of the house inside the house, I mean, as part of your own contribution in the business. Then they will give you the rest of the money. They call it, some bank will give 80% LTV, loan to value. Some will give 75%. So I hope I'm clear. Then any other question before we go over the table again? The reason why we do it is to get money to pull out equity from our house so that we can use the money to invest in other things. The more houses we have, the more cash flow we have, and the more equity we build. So if you have more houses, the better, so that you build more equity on different houses, not one house.
I think I have like just another generic question before you go over the tables, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I know you did talk about VTB, vendor take back. Do you see that happening a lot, or is it just like once in a while occurrence? And in line, sorry, I'll just ask this other one. I'll add that onto it. So in line with that as well is, as you continue to acquire these properties, right? Does the bank look at your debt service ratio? Will that be an issue along the way? The more you add to your portfolio and all that, would you run into a situation where they think, oh, you've got enough, and you have to find another way of closing your deal or financing your next purchase?
Yes, that is always a possibility. But you know what? There's always a way. It's just about networking with the right people who have been able to scale beyond what, I mean, if you have seen people who have done it, who have done what you are trying to achieve, then they have done it successfully. We just need to contact them, consult them, and say, okay, how do you do it? And they will explain to us, because the bank will always look at your income to your debt ratio. But the beauty thing about cash flow properties is that once you buy properties that are cash flowing, the income coming from the property is also added to your own income. So before you reach the roadblock, it might take, after 4 properties, I mean, 4 is just, it's going to be beyond 4 properties. Yeah, because as the income are coming from your properties, they are added as part of your own income as well. And they have their way of calculating it. So can we go over the table as suggested by?
I have a question, Mr. Aki. How are you?
Okay, good, Mams.
Is your company involved if an individual buys his own property? Does TechRe help in managing properties for individuals, or you're only solely involved in JVs?
No, not at this time. Maybe we can do that in the future, but not at this time. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to share the screen once again. So this is the assumption. Assumption one, we are buying discounted properties, 4% appreciation every year. It must be cash flowing property. We are doing forced appreciation after purchase. That's to be $2 minimum and 2.6 interest on the mortgage, 20% down payment, $250 per door cash flow. Cost of appreciation, cost of forced appreciation not taken into consideration. And the money is coming from your from your savings and investment. It's just about, 63,000 plus closing costs, and the market is steady. So the first property is valued 350,000. But we are buying it because we are buying it discounted 10%, so we are buying it for 315,000. And when we buy it for 315,000, it means the loan amount after you have paid 20%, so the loan amount is going to be 252,000. 252,000. Now you have equity of 98,000. Equity is your loan amount, the value minus loan amount. The value minus loan amount is your equity. So at the end of year one, don't forget one of the assumptions is that when you buy the property, you have to do a forced appreciation, little renovation to increase the value. And when you do that, we estimate we want to appreciate it forcefully by 10%. So between when you buy it and the year one hand, for all the property, all the 4 properties we are buying, is 10% forced appreciation. So it jumped from 350 value to 385. And when you pay mortgage for 12 months, you have paid it down to from 252 to 245,000. And your equity also increased. Equity increased because you have paid your mortgage down and the value of the house also has increased. At the end of the second year, the appreciation for that year is 4% from the first to second year, 4%. So the new value of the house is 400,000 and the loan amount is 238,000. The equity you now have is 161,000. And you have a cash flow each year 6,000. So at the second year, you have a total of 12,000 cash flow. So what do you do now? Because you have equity of 161,000. One of the stories I heard about a rich dad, poor dad. He said he's a poor dad. He said he lives in, I think, Hawaii. And that time, the property value in Hawaii was crazy. His property has worth a lot, and he's living there. And he doesn't really have money. And he's asking him that, our house is, what are we doing? So, but he was still learning that time, couldn't have, advise his dad. So we refinanced to take part of this equity. And how much are we able to take out from this? About 81,000. So refinancing property one at the end of year 2. So we now have 81,000 equity pull out and 12,000 cash flow. So we have 93,000. And we don't need all this money. We only need part of it. We only need about 70 or 70,000 to close the next deal. So we are keeping minimum of 20,000 from here for the future. Don't forget that. That is very important. So year 2, we bought 123 Main Street. Same scenario. Same scenario. The only thing that is different here is that this is happening in year 3, not year 1. Year 4, again, we have this equity, just like the first time. We have it, and we also have the cash flow. Can you see? We have this equity where we can get about 81,000 from here. And we can use the whole cash flow to buy the next property. And that is what we did. So at the end of year 5, we bought another property. So year 5 and 6, can you see now? Year 6 now, this is the property 3. And we also have 161,000 equity there. Now, to buy property 4, this is what we did. Because after we refinance property 1, we have 20,000 extra. When we refinance property 2, we have 20,000 extra. And all the cash flow we have been keeping, about 36,000. So we have total of 77,000 to buy the next property. And that is what we did in year 6. So we have now bought 4 properties. And at the end of year 10, sorry. The fourth one we bought, we have about 250,000 equity there. And the value of the property is 450. And also took into consideration when we refinanced property 1, we already have the loan amount to have increased. The equity has reduced because we have pulled out money. But time is our greatest friend here. At the end of that 10 years, the same property again, we have almost 300,000 equity there because time is our friend. You know what? There was an estimate that 90% of millionaires made their millions in real estate because it's easy. Take note of that. So, property 2, don't forget we also refinance it as well, but time is our greatest friend. At the end of the 10 years, we have about 235,000 equity there. And the value of the property is 506. Our loan amount is 271,000. Property 3, the same thing. It's now valued 468,000. And the equity we have there is 275,000. We also have cash flow. Property 4. This is don't forget how we bought the property 4. Remember this? Now, the property is now worth 450,000, loan amount 200,000, equity 250,000. Altogether, we have about 1.1 million in equity in 10 years. This is a journey we started with 63,000 plus closing cost only. Now we have 1 million in equity, 120,000 in cash, and infinite returns of 2,000 cash flow per month. All these will continue to grow from year to year. Imagine if you are pumping more money to accelerate this journey and scale higher. So I have some question here. Okay, we have explained refinancing. Then how does bank come about the real value of the house when refinancing? The bank, you can do it 2 ways. Usually when I go to the bank will send an appraiser. And this is what I do when they send an appraiser because I must have done my own work. I mean, I do not approach bank that I want to refinance without me doing my own work. I know the value of the house already because I've done the comparable through my REITer. I've done the comparable to the network of friends in the industry. So I've already asked my REITer to send me the comparable. So when the bank send an appraiser, I just tell the appraiser this is how much it worth with my data. I know how they calculate it, so I know it's something that you can learn about. So, for example, they use 3 methods. They look at houses that are sold in the last 6 months that are of the same. If your own is, for example, 3-bedroom house, 1,000 square foot, 1 bathroom or 2 bathroom, they compare it apple for apple. How much was it sold? They compare with your own. They also use the pricing, the cost structure, how much it costs for that building to be developed, and one other method. So, and when they realize that you also know what you are doing, they say, they ask you how much do you think is what, and I tell them how much is what. So their figure is always very close to mine, because you can fight it. If they come out with a wrong appraiser, you can say, no, this is not how much my house is worth. I believe this is how much it's worth based on this and this and this and that. So there's no, that is one thing that is good in this country. If you are able to fight your case, people will backtrack. So the appraiser now submit the report to your advisor in the bank, giving the reason why he arrived at the figure. So that is how the appraiser is done, basically. And you can also do an appraisal, you can call and invite an appraiser yourself who is recognized by that bank. Then they will send the report to your advisor in the bank. So the bank will not need to send another appraiser. It's done. Yes, the bank can undervalue, but if you have to, you can fight it if they undervalue your house. But the truth is that a lot of us want money. We have not done our homework. If you have not done your homework and the bank is saying this is how much is worth, and you are not able to fight it, well, a person says that we should throw more light in how to refinance the property. Chooks, you may have to call me. Yes. Because when people hear about refinancing, they will, oh, I have a house, now let me refinance it. It doesn't mean you can get any equity from your house. Yes, it doesn't mean that at all. You can possibly get some HELOC, home equity line of credit, 10,000, 20,000. There another question said, does this calculation include depreciation on the buildings? I know land always appreciate, but buildings depreciate. Okay, on paper, building depreciate. In fact, it's recognized as a part of way that you can save tax, that your building is depreciating. But in reality, when your property is maintained the way it's supposed to be maintained, it appreciates. That is the truth. On paper, it depreciates, but in reality, it appreciates. And that is why we are using minimum of 4% appreciation value there. Don't forget. We are told that between last year and this year, property value in Winnipeg alone appreciate close to 10%. What about that? Are they referring to the land? No, they are not referring to the land. They are referring to everything, the combo, the building on top of the land. Yeah, another question is how many doors are 250 cash flow are you looking in this example? We are looking at 2 doors per house. So 2 doors, that is 500 cash flow. 4 doors, that is 1,000 cash flow. And if it's 8 doors, that is 2,000. So altogether, 4 duplexes. We are looking at 4 duplexes, that is 8 doors. That is what we are just looking at on those numbers. Atinuke says, for each person to achieve the target of 1 million, how much do we have to contribute? Well, on this plan, we say the money coming from that pocket, from the pocket of that person, is 63,000 plus closing costs, maybe about 70-something thousand. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Adegoke, yes, sir.
Yeah, you said the money coming out from that person's pocket is 70,000 because we wanted to do a forced appreciation. And if you want to do forced appreciation, you're going to spend some money. It might be 20,000, it might be, so we need to factor in that. That's one.
I can't, there's no way I can factor everything. It's one of the assumptions. The assumption says the forced appreciation cost is not taken into consideration. So
yeah,
there's no way I'll be able to factor everything in. So, I mean, for example, a lot of things are not factoring. I do not factor in that the rent are increased. There's no way we are going to have the same rent for 10 years. I mean, there's no way I can factor all that in. I mentioned during the last seminar that, I mean, when we came to Winnipeg, we rented a 2-bedroom for 700. How many 2-bedroom a decent 2-bedroom can you see in Winnipeg in good neighborhood for 700 today? But we never factor all that into the same rent for 10 years.
Yeah.
You get me? So,
yeah, I got it. And I was looking, that was why I was looking at the number. And I saw that after second year,
okay.
If you look at that number, the mortgage increased because you refinance.
Yes.
So that means your 500 cash flow will not be 500. It's going to reduce because the mortgage increased.
Well, from my experience, that may be yes or no. Because it means basically we may probably get in a little bit above 500. And now that the mortgage has increased, we are now still with 500. And at the same, I mean, and again, that is an assumption. I mentioned in reality, I get some property, maybe 100, some 500 per door. So, but for us to be able to work things out, I mean, I cannot be able to say, okay, maybe this one will bring 200, another one will bring 250, another one by 500. We stick for one number for easier calculation so that we can see the flow of the plan.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a plan, we may not be able to take everything into consideration. Yeah, it's true. When the mortgage increases, it's going to affect the cash flow. But at the same time, if you have been having cash flow of 300 before, or even per door, then it might reduce.
Okay. How do you take care of repairs, minor repairs, and all that? How do you factor in those minor repairs into the whole program?
Well, in the plan, there's no provision for repairs in that plan. But in the reality, you have to engage yourself and contractors to be able to do repairs. Yeah. And that is very important because property management is key to the success of that plan.
So, Akedele, how are you?
I'm good, sir.
Just to clarify something regarding appraisal, when appraisal is being done, there are majorly 2 components.
Okay.
There's the land value and there's the structural improvement upon the land that will be appraised. somebody asked the question, can the structure improvement on top, can it depreciate? Yes, it can actually depreciate. That's why you find when appraisal is being done, they might say they are using residual value. That means the building was not maintained. And because it was not maintained, if I buy the land, I have to destroy the building. Are you getting it down?
Yes.
So such a property will be valued based on the residual. That's the land value. Typically, like you said, if a property is well maintained, of course, if the person does a very good property management, over time, the value will keep going up. That's just reality. So I just wanted to point that out. Then somebody was also talking about first appreciation. Yes, when we carry out appraisal, we take note of first appreciation. The reality is that no two properties are the same. They might look the same from exterior, but by the time, that's why we do internal inspection. Are you getting it now? When we go into the property, then you begin to see that, okay, this person has actually done some improvements. So by the time we carry out the comparative value for such a property, those variables are taken into consideration and of course reflect. Then you did mention the fact that you can actually contest your valuation. Yes, I agree with that, you can. But for you to contest your valuation, it means, I mean, they call it appraisal here. In Nigeria, they call it valuation. It means that you must have a good understanding of your own, and you must have a good understanding of all the improvements and maintenance you've done into the property. And it also means that you must have been visiting some nearby properties, and you know their state of condition as at the time you go into discussions with your bank. All right, so that's just it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I agree with you. I agree with you that property, I mean, you said 10% in Winnipeg. Yes, I agree with that. In some jurisdictions, it's 25, 30%.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. Thank you so much for that excellent contribution. Please, if we have not filled the form for this webinar, I have it in the chat room. It's not too late, we can fill. And Mayor, I would like to speak with you, please. Maybe after this webinar, sir. My contact is, let me put it in the chat. So thank you for that contribution, sir. Any comment, question?
Sorry, I have a quick comment as well. That was an excellent contribution as well from Mr. Mayo. Like you said, I think one more thing about refinancing that from experience as well, there are so many banks that you can approach and you can talk to. Even if you want to contest whatever bank A comes back with, it's still up to them in the end to decide whether they want to go with what you're saying or not. They can say, it's my money. That's how much I've appraised your property. If you want to do business with me, do business. And they are free to walk away because they know there are so many people that are looking for that cash. So it's up to you to say, depending on how much I want to pull out of this property, is that a fair assessment? Should I go with that? And, am I getting how much money I want from it? And if that is the case, it doesn't mean that they've tagged your house and that's what your house will sell for. But does it give you the money that you want at that moment? If it's good enough, you go for it, because it's a lot of legwork. If you challenge it and they say they don't agree, then you have to go to another lender and you have to repeat that process again before you eventually get someone who will do the refi for you. So I just wanted to mention that about refinancing and negotiation as well. And one more thing on your spreadsheet, actually. I think what I took from that scenario that you painted is you are explaining a model. It does not necessarily mean that's how all the numbers will work there. So I was taking notes as we were talking, and I'm thinking, okay, we're not factoring depreciation, we're not factoring maintenance of the property, we're not. But like you said, there are negative factors, there are positive factors as well. But if we get the concept of the model, how you can do that year after year or every 2 years, it makes sense how you can actually make things work. Of course, the numbers will be different. Typical example, the property was sold like March of last year, just before COVID struck. The property was sold for like 351 in a very good neighborhood, very good house. You don't need to do anything to it. And the person that bought the house, because I was following that property, 1 year later, the same property sold for 465,000. That's like over 100,000. But what did the guy do?
That's correct.
He's very handy.
Oh,
Very, very handy. The house that he bought, he put in his sweat in it. And when I saw the house, I couldn't recognize the house.
Sweat
It was
equity.
like done, sweat equity was there. So if I think of him talking to a contractor or something, they must have put in about 40 to 50,000 on that house. But even with that, within 1 year, it turned that around. And, you know, so things like that could happen. And you realize that, hey, things can change from 1 year to the other.
Yeah, just to buttress what you said, so several things, I mean, two major things that happened within the last 1 year. Within the real estate in Canada, you realize that it's actually a seller's market, a situation whereby you have more demands than supply. That's been the major factor. Just before COVID set in fully, most properties, around Winnipeg, would have, between then and now, should have appreciated with nothing less than $100,000, thereabout. So if such a person, like you said, has also done some maintenance or upliftment, definitely that should go above that. One of the major dictates for value is actually demand and supply. The moment you find that, I mean, if you look around you, if they put advert of a property for sale, it takes 2-3 days. Within 2-3 days, you just hear sold. That's what we typically find here in Ontario. And the reason for that is just that the supply is so few, the number of people looking for properties to buy is so much. And as long as Canada has that, the value of properties is going to be going up.
All right. Canada is a very attractive destination for a lot of people, you know, around the world. And the government was complaining about the Chinese coming to buy property. And now they are trying to control the prices. I think it has gone beyond that. We do not really enjoy the kind of appreciation you guys are enjoying in the bigger province. Ours is very steady. Although we also really enjoy this appreciation between last year and this year. But before that, it has always been steady. I mean, we just be hearing about crazy situation all over Ontario, Calgary, British Columbia, you know. Yeah, I think real estate is very attractive. Yeah. Do we have any other contribution, observation, comment, or question before we round up for tonight?
Oh, I just want to thank you, sir, for the opportunity you're giving to our community. As a member of the community, I think we all need this, and thank you for that good job. And I promise next time I will forward the link to the Yoruba Association and others so that they can get this opportunity that other people are getting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, we do it every season. I mean, next is the winter. We are going to have winter, the winter version of the webinar. We usually do it on in the hotel before COVID, but now COVID has restricted us. In actual fact, this is the first time we have started it in the last 4 weeks, and this is the first season we are going to hold it since the COVID. What we do before is every quarter, we go to the hotel and do the seminar. But now we have decided because of COVID to be doing it online. And the next one is going to be in the winter. So we should watch out for that. Thank you very much, sir. I'd like to thank each and every one of us for your time today and for this opportunity. If you want to contact me at any point in time, let me share the screen again. My phone number is 204-963-7811. Thank you so much for your time today. See you next winter. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank
God bless
you.
you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, let's talk, please.